that's one of the pieces that is very important to have because I think it allows the AI model to do the what if scenarios. Like your AI model, you ask it a question, it can actually ground itself in a little bit more of like how the world works and then play out those what if scenarios. So I think of this as one of the essential components for how we actually advance the model. We put robots out there, and then you have robots getting real world data. You have scenario building where they can generate any scenario and run the what if scenarios. And then they just get way, way better by being able to do that type of activity. Welcome to the monthly AI update, where we cover the month of AI news and try to cover it for you, the busy entrepreneur, and then we discuss it so that you can get our thoughts and kind of read behind those headlines. Thank you for joining us live. For those of you who are joining us live, oh, that cat's awesome. And for those of you listening to this later, welcome to the Annovation podcast, where we talk about AI for small business. I'm the host, Al Kaufman. I'm the founder of Annovation. Annovation is all about helping small business with AI. And I'm here with John Down, Dr. Down, PhD professor of AI and entrepreneurship at the University of Portland, and Addie Olson, the founder of Cascadia Solutions, the data and AI expert. And we're recording this on February 12th, 2026. So if there's any news that happened after this, that's why we don't know about it. All right. Before we dive in, we're recording this just a little bit after the Super Bowl. So first, how are you guys doing? And what did you think of the Super Bowl?
Well, I'm doing well, and I did my PhD at University of Washington, so kind of got connected with the Seahawks. In fact, when I was doing that in the 90s, they played in the Kingdome, which has since been torn down and all that kind of stuff. In fact, it was a pretty cool implosion when they blew it up. But so kind of happy the Seahawks won, although, maybe the commercials were the best part of the game, just in terms of excitement and sort of thrills and things like that. And the halftime show. I love the halftime show too.
Yeah, same here. Wasn't the most exciting football. I'm not a Seahawks fan or a Patriots fan, but still, now that I live here, I'm a Seahawks fan by default. So that's who I was rooting for. But yeah, loved the music at the halftime show, and the commercials were awesome.
Oh, yeah. A lot of AI commercials. It's like surprisingly a lot of AI commercials. And even some drama leading up to that. And that actually is a perfect segue into our first story, which is the Claude and OpenAI Super Bowl commercials. So some of you may have heard already that OpenAI is adding ads to their free and go tiers of their platform. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But that's the context you need to understand for this ad. I'm going to play the ad and then we'll talk about it.
So, what do you think?
Absolutely. That's such a fun and creative business idea. You've got something really special here. Getting started can feel daunting. I can make a step-by-step mini business plan. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Here's some steps you can take. 1, research. Really get to know your audience. 2, think of a catchy name and start your social presence early. 3, new businesses often struggle with cash flow, so try quick dash payday loans because girl bosses need CEO money quick. 400% APR rates may vary, possibly doubling or tripling without notice.
What?
Would you like to make a quick credit check?
So that's like the line right there. Ads are coming to AI, but not to Claude. And these made me laugh. I thought they're all pretty good, and there's a whole suite of them. So if you haven't checked those out, check them out. I think they only played like one at the Super Bowl, but there's a lot of good ones in there. And really, I am a little kind of curious if this actually landed with people. Like, how many people who are watching the Super Bowl know that you have to know that ChatGPT is like talking about ads, and then you also have to know what Claude is, because it's not. I don't know if you ask the average person, "Hey, do you know what Claude is?" They might be like, "Who's Claude?" So I feel like there's a little bit of context missing for a lot of people here, but yeah, this caused some drama with Sam Altman and the CEO of Anthropic, and there was a whole back and forth. Um, but yeah, what did you guys think of this ad?
Yeah, yeah, I also think these ads are funny and well done. Like the person acting as like a AI agent's pretty funny, like so overly positive and just really encouraging, but also not that specific. I thought with the one that aired on the Super Bowl, it was to me it was funny because they just named specifically who their target was for that ad. Like obviously not every single Super Bowl ad is for every single person watching, but um, that one was when like someone was talking to like a trainer and the trainer's like, tell me your age, height, and weight. And then the guy's like, oh, I'm 27, I'm this tall, and I weigh this much. And I'm like, wow, that's like, it's like so on the nose of like, they're trying to get this exact type, like a guy who's 27, who's interested maybe in fitness and knows something about technology, like so spot on for who they were targeting there. So yeah, and definitely this like big kind of marketing stance by Claude being like, we're Claude, we're not AI. So like really trying to be like, there's AI and then there's Claude, making that big like trying to build that like value difference.
And then after this, I guess it goes to Claude Keep Thinking, which is their like new branding.
Yeah, it's also interesting to think about, because Claude is, I would say, of the leading AI companies, the one with their CEO, Dario Amodei, who's been most vocal about the dangers of what could happen with AI and, most willing to engage with regulation and that kind of thing. So I was a little bit surprised, that just these ads, because of course Sam Altman, who runs OpenAI, said they're kind of dishonest because this is not how we're doing the ads, and so it was quite a blow, I'd say, to ChatGPT. In a way, it almost got me thinking that one of the other big players in all this AI stuff, of course, is Elon Musk with X AI. This is almost sort of more of a Elon Musk type move, although it was done a little bit more diplomatically and sort of funny than some of the stuff that Elon does for sure. But yeah, so that was kind of interesting. I was a little bit surprised that it did come from Anthropic, just given their sort of positioning, because in a way it is a bit dishonest. Not to say that OpenAI won't eventually get to this, but their ads are not included in the content that they're delivering for people when they're asking AI to develop content and stuff.
Mhm. Exactly. And I mean, I think that's one of the weird things here. It's like when you think about how AI works, like no AI company is running ads this way, and no AI company has plans to run ads this way. Um, and I guess it's kind of a good indicator though, like this is what we don't want to have happen. This is what
Yeah.
we don't want the AI ads to look like.
Yeah. And of course, Sam Altman said in the past that we will never run ads. So,
Okay.
just because they're not doing them embedded in the output now doesn't mean that there won't be companies, and it maybe not going to be OpenAI, but it could be some other AI company that's, we're offering a free version and all that stuff. But then again, yeah, will it be you get what you pay for sort of thing? So,
Hmm.
Totally. And John, I think your point is really good that it is kind of like an aggressive, it's a pretty like aggressive move. Also, it is itself an ad, um,
mhm.
which yeah, is maybe a little bit out of character for
Mhm.
Anthropic. One interesting thing was I was watching the Super Bowl with someone who's not from America, and they're like, "Oh, in Europe, you can't run an ad like this. Like, even if you like are kind of hinting at like saying that a different company in your field is bad, like that's totally not allowed." Like, so they were kind of like shocked to be like, "Whoa, this is so aggressive. Like, you only see this in America."
I mean, I feel like it's less aggressive though than Coke and Pepsi. Did you
Oh,
see
that was that was pretty mean. Yeah.
that was brutal. I was like, oh man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Oh
think the
Polar
man.
most
bear.
popular ad, well, there was, some ads that were good, but I think I heard that the ad that most people liked the most was the feel good ad. I think it was the Budweiser ad about the little baby
Yes.
eagle and stuff, and
That was my
the Bolt
favorite.
and the yeah, So, and everybody that was around me loved that ad too, and most of the people that were around me did not get these ads either, the way that we all did, for what you were saying there, Alec, earlier. But
Hmm. And there were actually a couple AI generated moments in ads too. Svedka, I
And
think that ad was actually an
mhm.
AI generated ad. So there's some interesting applications of AI being shown in the Super Bowl. Another one that stands out as just a story from the Super Bowl ads that's related to AI. Uh, AI.com. I think I need to share my screen again. Let's see. There it is. AI.com. So some of the story here, apparently, I mean, verify this to make sure it's right. I think I got this off the AI overview, but I think they paid 70 million for this domain, AI.com, and basically, I think the guy who had the domain before grabbed it in like the 90s, and it was like his initials, which is crazy. Um, but now they're building this thing on AI.com, and I believe it is uh, something to do with not OpenAI, OpenClaw, and some of these open source software stuff. Um, but we don't really know too much about this. There hasn't been a lot of details on what AI.com is so far. But yeah, what have you guys thought about this or learned about it so far?
Yeah, seems to be a mystery. I think the ad itself was kind of useless. It didn't really tell you what was going on, or what it is. Seems like 100% trying to capitalize on having the domain name, which we saw in a different ad in the Super Bowl with Emma Stone, that having the domain name is really important. So that seems to be a pretty big message here. But
Yeah,
yeah,
just to sort of explore a little bit after the Super Bowl, I did go to their website, which is pretty simple. And as you say, Alec, they actually reference OpenClaw, which is so new. It's kind of crazy, but definitely this idea of, this is where your autonomous agents can live kind of thing instead of, yeah, maybe other places or needing a Mac Mini, that kind of thing. And then I did sign up for a couple of handles. You're asked to kind of give two and stuff. But since then, I did that right after the Super Bowl. Since then, I've not heard anything, which to me is really surprising that they're not capitalizing on the momentum that they supposedly created by spending all the money, not only for the handle but for the ad. So kind of
yeah,
still waiting to see what I end up hearing from them. You know. Um, yeah, and obviously
Yeah,
I'll be a little careful before I before I engage too much with it, just to sort of see where it's going. But so far the follow through has not been good, at least from my experience.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go with this. It seems to be kind of I think it's the people from crypto.com. I mean, I could be
Yeah.
wrong on that, but that's what the AI overview is saying.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, crypto.com, AI.com makes sense to have those two together. But I'm curious what they're going to do with it. It looked like personalized AI assistants could be a new player entering the scene, though. We've had some of the major models, and that has been kind of where the news comes from. But now we could have some new entrants and some new things going on. It'll be interesting to see what they build on this. Okay, so we've danced around it. Um, ChatGPT ads. So they are releasing ads, and they're putting these ads in their platform. They're supposed to be on the lower third. So you can see it here where it's this ad down at the bottom. And it's not supposed to be the response is not supposed to influence that, right? It's just like people pay for the placement of it. What have you guys heard on this?
I haven't exactly heard how they decide what ads to serve up, but I guess I just assume that it has something to do with what you're asking about. Um, just in that way, maybe making the argument that what we're offering in ads are actually things that you're interested in because you just asked about it, kind of thing, as opposed to just totally random things, of course. But I don't really know. I haven't actually seen them live, and I'm not quite sure how that's actually working. And I know they initially did some beta testing and sort of small scale rollout. So I don't know if it's completely rolled out yet. That's a yeah. I just haven't heard that yet or seen it.
yeah.
Okay.
I haven't experienced it either. Actually, when I was looking more into Google's Universal Commerce Protocol, which I think we're going to talk about here in a second. They were talking about the difference between that setup versus what's happening more um, with ChatGPT ads. It's still based on kind of text similarity and search, like exactly what you're saying, John. Like if you're searching for a recipe, it's like, okay, we're looking at food. We're going to maybe use the other context that we have in, around this user persona and target ads that way. They also like specify that like your data is not going to the advertisers, which to me seems like, oh, that's maybe a good thing, but I don't know if that'll necessarily stay that way, since that's usually how advertising goes, is that, advertisers then, get your data, they get like, the Google Analytics reports and whatnot. So yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see how this continues to roll out, and, if, yeah, if people move away, if, OpenAI, this works great, they start making tons more money, we'll see.
Hmm. Yeah, it sounds like you can kind of you could do sponsored. It seems like how it works is if there is a question with a relevant sponsored product, it will serve that ad. If there is only if there's a relevant sponsored product. So like I think it comes up with the answer first, and then it checks if there's a compatible ad that could be inserted.
Yeah. And
So
you can toggle how personalized you want the ads to be, like if you want it to be able to look at all of your past conversations when targeting ads to you.
Mhm.
Or it
And
could
one
just
of
be
the
taking, yeah, I think like the context from that specific query.
and again to mention, this is only for the free and go tier. So if you're on Pro or anything, it's like the $20 a month or more expensive plans, you're not gonna see these. But it's on the free and go plans that you might see these rolling out. Another approach to ads has been Universal Commerce Protocol, like what you were saying, Addie. Um, and this was interesting. This came out a little bit ago in January, but this is how um, Gemini is basically handling, well, the Universal Commerce Protocol is supposed to be more like a MCP, the Model Context Protocol. It's one of these frameworks that's supposed to help uh, handle commerce in AI models. So how you buy things. And I thought this was pretty interesting because some of how you buy it they introduced some different methods. And so they have like branded agents where you talk with the store for one piece of it. Then there's also direct offers. So with direct offers, you could basically be talking with the AI model. And if the AI model determines that you're a high likelihood buyer, then it can give you a coupon. So like it's not serving up an ad, it's giving you a special discount code. So it's like you could basically talk with the AI to get special discounts, which I do think is interesting. That seems like it might work better than the traditional ad model. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely interesting, and I think kind of bringing in like the idea of like the power of AI is that it can understand a lot more context and different uh, formats versus like just using like a simple text similarity search. And so yeah, kind of to me, the thing that stood out the most is their uh what do they call it? Like the like kind of like large knowledge base that is like specifically shopping and retail focused. Um so yeah, having the kind of that more personalized thing, and then having the infrastructure to have all of those pieces all in one stack. So like taking into account you, the vendor, what sort of payments they take, their loyalty programs, physically being able to like insert a discount code and actually execute the payment. It's like, yeah, they're capturing that whole stack there. Um,
And how will it
and
work when we are using our own autonomous agents more, and so we want to buy something where there's a lot of different options and things? Will it be agents kind of talking to agents then?
Mm.
I mean, this is I think the setup of this is so that your agent can do the purchase on your behalf. So you could just direct it for, I want you to go buy something, and then it could basically buy something. But this is like the step before that. That's like how how do we let people buy things in the AI uh, browser, like without leaving the chat window? And so
Yeah.
eventually, agent to agent. Um, I think of agent to agent like the appointment booking and things like that. So I think we'll see a lot more agent to agent when it's like, how do I book an appointment with a hairstylist and like that. Do you remember that demo from Google, like the 2018, where like the voice assistant calls up the hairdresser and books the appointment?
Mhm.
I think that's where we'll see some of the agent to agent.
Yeah, I'm doing a little car project and I need a new valve cover for my car. And I just went online, and it's like pretty much there's different brands and there's the same brand that's priced differently if you go to eBay or to,
Mhm.
Amazon or to some auto parts sites and things like that, So it takes a little while to kind of figure out, okay, what do I want? And there's all these different price points, and you can, of course, buy the OEM stuff too. It seems like that would be a pretty useful tool if I had an agent that could go do that for me and then give me maybe, tell me what its recommendation is, and then I could say yes or no kind of thing, and do that. How far away do you think we are to that?
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty close, and that's honestly part of what this is built to do. They also like explicitly say that UCP is coming with agent payments protocols, agent to agent, and model context protocol all built into that. So I think that's there. And I was reading this Forbes article talking about, yeah, this like the shopping graph data, which is kind of that like large knowledge base. But yeah, it seems like the big use case is like, oh, okay, I want to buy, I need to buy this specific product. I need it to, integrate with the car I already have or all of the, the technology devices that I already use, and this is my price point and I live here, and it's like it can take all of that information and kind of like look at it apples to apples against like what's already in there and what vendors are already using this platform.
So from a small business point of view, or if you're a e-commerce seller, then you're going to want to be kind of plugged into whatever the system is so that the autonomous shopping agents of other people are going to be looking at your stuff and you're not going to be outside that kind of system. Seems to
Yeah.
make sense, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, and this
yeah.
article was great. It ended with like what this means for your business, like how to think about structuring your data for agent discoverability, and building more on conversational commerce. Like people are still going to be describing what they need in natural language. So having more information that's conversational about your products, like question, answer, reviews, kind of more like natural language type description they recommend, and then like understanding what the new attribution models are and how yours might fit in with that. Um, yeah, I think what was most interesting to me is that Amazon is like very much so building up walls and saying, this won't touch anything on Amazon. This will be for anything outside of Amazon. I'm thinking that they're probably cooking up their own similar infrastructure, but yeah, I'll be interested to see where that goes.
They already have Rufus, their
Yeah.
Amazon's basically shopping agent, and so I think that's one of the interesting things where you might see more agent to agent too, is
Um,
when it has to go across from one site to the other. So it's, basically it's in uh you're in Gemini, right? But then it wants to go into Amazon's products and search Amazon. So then maybe Gemini does some type of handshake with the with Amazon's Rufus AI, and then they dialogue back and forth to figure out what product actually serves this best.
yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how that evolves because Amazon sued Perplexity basically for letting its agents go and actually try to make purchases on Amazon. So yeah, it seems like they're walling that off and are really trying to make sure that it'll be whatever that sort of interaction looks like will be on their terms.
It'll be interesting though, because like if Amazon doesn't let people do that and it becomes a lot of people shopping in their own agents, how many people are going to make the leap to shop on that Amazon AI agent if they don't let the shopping actually go all the way through? And it seems like Amazon would be one of the easiest stores to navigate for AI models because everything is so standardized and there's so many products
Mhm.
there. Um, it might actually be an opportunity for retailers that are not on Amazon if if Amazon basically says we're not going to do that, but then you have AI mode that can actually do a shopping experience that is Amazon like. John, what you were talking about earlier when you were saying compare all those stores, it looks like
Mhm.
this does do this here when it
Mhm.
has all these. It finds the part, like it would find the part, right, and then it shows all the stores that have the part. So I think we are starting to get to that point. Shopping is just not really necessarily rolled out all the way yet. So we'll see where that goes. Because I think they're hesitant to fully release shopping because they don't know how good it's gonna actually be
Yeah.
or where it might mess up.
Yeah, and just one last comment too, just thinking about how Amazon decides what their strategy is, then you might have other big online retailers like Walmart, which as a company, they just passed $1 trillion market cap. So there's, joined that sort of elite group of companies, let's say. And so it may be an opportunity for Walmart to take a different strategy that could be more welcoming for people's autonomous shopping apps. And then all of a sudden, maybe some people will switch from using Amazon a lot. More people will switch to Walmart and stuff.
Yeah, and Walmart is a
Mhm. And
partner.
Walmart, I think, has Sparky. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
they've got their little AI that is like their little smiley face balloon thing.
Oh,
Um,
Mhm.
yeah.
and so yeah, it's interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, the
All
retailers that
right.
are
Anything
okay.
more on ads before we?
I was
Mhm.
just gonna say, yeah,
No, go ahead.
Walmart, Target, Shopify, Etsy, and Wayfair are the players that are backing the Google UCP.
Yeah, there's let's see, there's like a list here. Yeah, Universal Commerce Protocol. Actually, Walmart's on
Yeah,
there,
Yeah.
so that would be
it is.
interesting to
Yeah.
see
Okay.
how that works. Notably, not on there is Amazon, so that
Hmm.
will be something to watch.
Hmm. Yeah.
All right, on to some world models. So, Project Genie. Project Genie was something that got announced a while ago. Um, and so we saw Google has been working on these world models. And what I mean by a world model, I'll kind of just show it here because that's probably the best way to do it. Okay. This is Project Genie. Um, so basically Google released this, and this is a world model builder. World models are basically, think about like making a video game. So when you make a video game, you have the world that is built around you. And what this allows you to do is actually just build a world. So you can see right here, they're prompting for the environment first, and then they're prompting for the character. So they've started releasing these world model things, and a lot of people looked at it and they were like, that's super cool. That's never going to get released to the public. And the reason why people thought that is it seemed like something that was way too big and way too compute intensive to let people actually get access to it. Because you're basically generating a video game. People can walk around in it. You can jump. You can start to do some level of interaction. If you run into like a wall, you'll actually stop at the wall. Um, so this is really neat. Um, and they have now released it to the public. So now you can actually go in and you can create these things, and it does unlock some really new experiences with AI where you could this is really cool for just like on your computer, but it's also amazing when you think about the applications of this in VR. So this would be a really cool way to experience any type of different things. It's kind of like one of those just delightful, fun AI things. also what they're showing right here, you can take a picture and you can make a world out of that. So this person takes a little robot, like makes a little cardboard robot and cardboard creatures, and like has them play around the world. This person takes a picture of their cat and makes it so their cat can roam around their house in a world, and they can basically play as their cat as a character. So this is just an incredible uh like fun thing that I really enjoy this. I think this is just like a delightful application of AI that just makes me happy. But what do you guys think? And a note on availability: it is available to AI Ultra subscribers. On the personal plan, because I am an AI Ultra subscriber, but I don't have access to it, unfortunately, because I am on the business plan. But eventually it will be rolled out, and I'll be talking more about that and showing off some of the things that I do in it. But yeah, what are you guys' thoughts?
Question, maybe for the two of you, for Addie or Alec there, but so I haven't really gotten super deep into these, but the question I've been wondering about, and sort of as I've learned a little bit more about them, so the data that's generating the models, and then also that is getting generated by the AI as it's creating these worlds, is that data going to be helpful for making future AI models even better, or is it really sort of irrelevant to that? Yeah, is this a way to get more data? You know, we've used
Mm.
up all the data on the internet and that kind of thing, and there's video data, and now we've got all these world model generations. Can we use this data that gets created to make AI even better?
This is actually, I believe it's actually already being used by Waymo as a way to simulate different scenarios that could happen. So they take the different Google Maps data, right, and all the things that the cameras might see,
From
and because these all have
autonomous
points,
vehicles, yeah.
yeah. So you take all the Google Maps image data, you take the you create a world, and that world has defined points too. So if you were using lidar, you could tell where the lidar should bounce and stuff like that. Theoretically, I don't know. But basically they can get an idea of how to train the cars on any scenario. They think the scenario that they talked about was it like an elephant in the road. How many training data elements are there of an elephant standing in the road? Um, but with a world model, you could generate that in all kinds of ways.
Yeah, I that's such a great question of like, yeah, where is this going and what does this help with? I feel like this is starting, or I guess like kind of like empowering AI to get into just the general world of 3D modeling. Like this is all for fun, but like CAD and Autodesk and other like 3D modeling softwares are really, like kind of like pretty long standing, I'd say like have like a lot of like domain specific skills that people need to use them to do 3D modeling. Like for example, like building a house or like modeling a shed or like like an interior decoration or you know uh like in the car one, like building a new roadway, like where are the traffic signs and the lights going to go. And so like those are you like those that kind of work is usually like really kind of high paid knowledge work by people who are super specialized in using those 3D modeling programs. So I feel like this is kind of getting, or like AI is moving in the direction of like, oh, actually, we're going to be able to do like more precise um, 3D modeling that can eventually be used to build things in the real world without having to have those, really specific like engineering skills and experience in those other 3D modeling softwares is kind of where I see this going. I'm not an expert in in kind of the 3D engineering world, but I can see it moving that way.
With robots, the development of robots and things, it
Mhm.
seems like there's a big crossover there as
Mhm.
well. Kind of understanding the environment and being able to use natural language to talk to robots, and they can figure out what's going on and can do things that you want them to do. And it just does seem like it's all coming together with all the autonomous vehicles and drones and drone data and um, operating drones and things like that. There's a lot of things coming together and sort of, kind of synergies, I suppose, from all this world model activities.
Oh yeah, and I think the world models. I mean, that's one of the pieces that is very um very important to have because I think it allows the AI model to do the what if scenarios.
Mm.
And so I think of this as like your AI model, you ask it a question, it can actually ground itself in a little bit more of like how the world works and then play out those what if scenarios. So I think of this as kind of one of the essential components for how we actually advance the model because it starts to get grounded into it starts to be able to run what if scenarios. And then you think about how we put this in. We put robots out there, and then you have robots getting real world data. You have scenario building where they can generate any scenario and run the what if scenarios, and then they just get way, way better by being able to do that type of activity.
Mhm.
Yeah, we always often hear about how like humans and young children growing up, they so quickly learn about how the world works and it doesn't take a lot of data and they don't need to see lots and lots of examples. Whereas the AI model so far may take, millions of times to really understand the difference between different animals or whatever images and
Yeah.
things like that. And so it does seem like this direction is something that's going to significantly improve the efficiency and efficacy of developing, the future AI models.
hmm I think so. I mean, I think it's a big step for AI in general because I mean, this was one of the things that I think we thought was going to be really hard to do. And really hard. I mean, it probably was really hard to do, but I think this is something that we thought would take longer. Being able to actually build world models and do those simulations on a big scale. And I mean, it's not like simulating everything, but this is basically kind of creating a video game of anything, and a video game in a way is kind of like a simulation.
Mhm.
All right, shall we get to some Claude and Claude 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 CLAUD and some Claude uh CLAW uh yeah, CLAWD. So, first piece here, we've got Claude. Everybody knows Claude. Um it's one of those major AI models. They also have a product called Claude Code, and they also came out with another product called Claude Cowork. Claude Cowork is basically think of it like Claude Code, but for kind of the non-developer. And Claude Code and Claude Cowork are very useful because they are actually able to do a lot more things on the user's behalf. It is something that, like, if you needed to organize all the files on your desktop, you could do something like that with Claude Cowork. But Claude Code is also an incredible like coding partner. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys. And talk a little bit about your experience with Claude Code, Claude Cowork, things like that.
Okay. I had not done really any programming much at all. And so um, over the weekend, actually, I decided, all right, I'm going to jump in on Claude Code. I had this project that some friends who do sort of, it's not exactly day trading, but basically, yeah. And they were asking me, hey, how can AI help? And so the really cool thing was using Claude and Claude Code together because you start with Claude, or it could be it could even be ChatGPT, but and you say, okay, this is what I want to try to do. And then it's like, okay, then boom, 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 open your terminal and stuff. It's like, okay, I haven't actually done that before. And then it explains how to do that. And then, it just takes you through everything. And then it tells you what code to put into your terminal. And once you get it open and then you get an error message, you just screenshot that, put it back in Claude, and then it says, "Oh yeah, of course. We got this, on this." And it's like honestly, it's kind of fun working with it. And I've got to believe that even if I had a pretty experienced programmer, I don't know that they would have been more help than what Claude was because it's so fast and ultimately we developed this really cool thing. And it took a while just to get it all set up and everything. But now, since then, there's a lot of other cool things that I'm interested in doing. Um, but having said all that too, then I wanted to do another sort of web app thing, and I was thinking, well, should I use Claude Code to do it like I did before, or should I just sort of ask? Yeah. So what I ended up doing is I asked ChatGPT to write a prompt that I was going to use for Claude to generate a web app that was going to explain the difference to my class about linear growth versus exponential growth in an educational way. And so ChatGPT wrote out this complex prompt, and then I put that into Chat or Claude, and it did generate an amazing thing. And then I just asked ChatGPT. I says, "Hey, why don't you do that yourself?" And it did it, and both of them were pretty much perfect, and I could have it adjust things and stuff. So
Mhm.
so honestly, I don't think that was possible 2 months ago. I don't think that was possible to do that kind of stuff last October or September. You know, Claude Code has come up with some new advances and just to be able to do this stuff. And I might be wrong about that, but it's just really kind of blew me away at how
Did
easy it
you
was to do simple things. And we'll get to it, but I think that does have big implications for just how you can take this big step forward in how you're using AI for your work. But
was that a OpenAI Codex, or was that just still was that still in the ChatGPT browser, or like the
yeah, it
regular
was just in the
ChatGPT?
ChatGPT browser. I asked for the prompt, and it wrote quite a detailed prompt, and it asked me a few questions too about what did I want to sort of emphasize and how did I want to set it up and everything. And it was really cool, fun to play with. Yeah, it would show the difference, and it did these cool graphs and stuff. They were both quite similar, which was a little bit interesting too. I thought maybe they would have been quite different, but they were pretty similar in what Claude created with just the prompt, and then what ChatGPT created with just the prompt.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, I have a hunch on why that's the case. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible what we can do with vibe coding these days. Oh, my thing says reconnecting. Can y'all still see me?
Yep, I can
Okay.
see you.
Okay. Yeah, the where we're at with vibe coding today is absolutely incredible. I've been using AI coding agents for more than a year now, and watching the improvement is amazing. I've been a primary cursor user, and so I think it's interesting to distinguish kind of how the different companies are kind of wrapping up their coding products. So both Codex and Cursor and also Windsurf are IDEs. So they're like an actual like application that you open on your desktop and can develop code in. Claude Code is not going the IDE route. They have it all working in browser or as a plugin for another IDE that you might use, like VS Code or maybe like more language specific IDE. So Claude Code is kind of like it can kind of sit anywhere. You can use it in your browser. Versus like Codex is like, oh yes, I'm opening Codex on my computer. I'm only using the ChatGPT model to build my code with. And then Cursor, it's its own IDE. But it's accessing multiple models via API. So you can choose, do I want to use an OpenAI model? Do I want to use the Claude model for this? Et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, they're both incredible. I did a little experiment where I started a project using Claude Code specifically, and then partway through the project, I shifted it back over to Cursor using a different model to see like I have all these chats here. Can the new model like actually go back in the context and pick up everything that's been done without that conversation history and still like read the code base effectively and still do my commands? And I was super surprised at how well it worked. I was like, oh, this is great. Like don't even I was thinking I was gonna have to be much more specific, like bring more context in. But I think it worked really well. So that was interesting to me. And I think why they're both so great.
what did you do there?
Oh,
So
yeah. So I basically like started a project using Claude Code, and then
so was it the code that you took or just the
yeah, so basically like
prompt? Sorry, sorry
yeah,
for
no, it was
interrupting,
just the
but
code. So basically I like stopped, like left the code, like the code was where the code
code.
was
Okay,
at.
got
And
it. Yeah,
then
but you didn't give it the
yeah, didn't
context.
give it any context and was just going to see if the other model could pick up right to see how the other model could pick up where I left off.
Mhm.
And it worked super well. And I think why these models are so similar is that the data that they're built off of is super similar. Like GitHub and all of the like code and open source things that are online is definitely the main data source that these models are built off of, as well as like their
Mhm.
because then there's like the generated data that they have between conversations and code that they're generating. So I think kind of like the baseline data that they're built off of is the same. So that's why I think we're getting pretty similar results right now. But as more people continue to use any or either one of those and they get more data and continually build more code, I think that is maybe where they might start to differentiate in the future.
And there's a lot of like improvements in just code development going on. I mean, I actually play around a lot in the um, Google side of things. So I'll
Mhm.
play in like their their AI Studio, which is one of their app builders. But then I'll also play around in Anti-Gravity, which is like their cursor competitor.
Mhm.
And so like there's a lot of options to just play around, and these AI tools are getting really good at building some of these apps. It's just pretty impressive. And I think there's kind of like a depends on what you're doing. If you're building something like that's like a full-on app, you might go all the way to where you have something like in its own IDE environment and like or you have one plug into your IDE, and you're really like developing something. Or you might just be able to make something on the web, like in Claude, on using just the web version of Claude or the web version of uh, Gemini's AI app builder or uh, like OpenAI too. So they're kind of creating all of these code tools and really, well, I guess the one I haven't heard a lot about is Copilot, but like under the hood, a lot of the stuff for Copilot is ChatGPT. So I like, yeah, I know. I wonder like is GitHub Copilot like still around? Are people using that much? I have not heard much on
I
GitHub
think
Copilot. No excitement
people who
around it, at
work
least.
in Microsoft shop organizations and that's their only option are using it, but from what I've heard, it is not anywhere as close to as good as the other options out there.
That seems to be what I've heard as well. I used it way back right after the ChatGPT moment, but then once I switched over out, like I kind of never went back once I kind of landed in Google land, but started messing around with some of the other coding tools. So anything,
Thing
I guess I should mention Codex here also came out, and there's been some back and forth of like what's better, Claude Code or Codex, and like a whole kind of push of like which coding model is the best, and that's always been kind of a thing. But I think whatever coding model works for you is the coding model to use. That's kind of the message here.
A couple of other last things to mention, or I don't know if they're last, if we're going to move on or not. But when I was working in my car last night, I was listening to a podcast. It was on the Lex Friedman show, and they had on Peter Steinberger, who is the guy that created OpenClaw. And it's a super long podcast. I was working on my car a while. I still didn't even finish it, but it's pretty interesting if you want to hear all that story and just kind of like how he got that all going. One other thing, I just just before we started today, when Anthropic came out with Claude Cowork, originally it was for I think it was just for the Apple environment, right? Not for Windows. But I got a notification that said, "Hey, we're ready to download for Windows." So anyway, it's everywhere now.
Mhm.
So that didn't take long.
Yeah, and I guess that's the story that we'll end on, which is the whole saga of OpenClaw, which that that has definitely been one of the big stories in the whole AI news of the past month, which is this tool called OpenClaw. You might have heard it first as ClaudeBot. So it was originally released as ClaudeBot. It is an open source tool, and it then got a lot of I think it probably got something formal from Claude, but basically Claude didn't like that it was called ClaudeBot because people thought it was associated with the Claude CLAUD E model, not Claude, which was CLAWD. So basically, ClaudeBot is the original name of this thing. Then it became Moltbot, and now it is OpenClaw. And what it is it's basically, it's not actually its own model. It's kind of like a connector. It orchestrates an AI model. So you connect an AI model to it, and then you can give it access to a lot of stuff, and it's able to do tasks on your behalf. Um, you can do any of these. However, I want to give a quick cautionary tale of, probably if you're listening to this and you're getting excited about it, I would wait on this one for a little bit. You want to let people figure out where the bugs are. Don't give it full system access. You want to run this on probably like something that's a little bit of a sandbox first. Um, I wouldn't put it straight on your PC or your Mac or whatever you got, um, because you have to give it a lot of access. And then when you give it a lot of access, it's very vulnerable currently to prompt injection. And we haven't talked about prompt injection a lot, but basically think of that as like someone kind of hacks your AI. Like they basically get to take over what your AI is doing by giving it its own prompt. So you want to be careful about prompt injection. I think we lost Addie. Hopefully she comes back in here. Um, so you want to be careful about prompt injection, especially when you're working with these models. Especially if you try to do something here with this type of tool. But it is a very cool tool, and it's opening up some new possibilities that people are really excited about. I think this gives us a glimpse into the agentic AI future. What do you think, John? You think that's close
Yeah,
to
I
some of
think
your
that's
thoughts on it?
yeah, totally. I mean, I think just as you say, the the autonomous agents of the future just doing a lot of this stuff, and OpenClaw just really opened up the this whole area of opportunity, I guess. Peter in that program, a couple things that really sort of stood out. One was he tells a pretty interesting story about when the name changing was happening, because when it was originally Claude, spelt with the claw like it is here. Um, Anthropic, he said, was actually pretty good in terms of when they reached out to him, because it was really small to start with, and once it started to blow up, they reached out to him. But he did say that it wasn't like with a big legal cease and desist thing. It was like he got some calls from some pretty high level people saying, "Hey, it's really cool what you're doing, but we really don't want you using that name." And so, but then even when he was changing it and he was trying to come up with other names, he was all these people were kind of like sniping him, the sort of like the dark side of trying. They were trying to
Oh,
like in seconds when he went through a couple of processes where in seconds he like choose the name, but before he could lock it down within 10 seconds, other people had grabbed that. And then they try to sort of hold him hostage if he wants that name and stuff. And he said that was pretty terrible. But it's yeah, it's a pretty interesting story. And he also has said that he's had contact from Mark Zuckerberg and Sam Altman and almost all the top venture capital firms. And so there is a lot of interest in whether it's this or some other future version of something similar. But this is just a kind of a starting gunshot of the rush to autonomous agents that we're going to see in 2026.
hmm Addie, I know we lost you for a second. But have you messed around with it at all? Oh, do we have your audio? Oh no. Okay. Well, hopefully, Addie will be able to jump back in here. But yeah, I think it does open up that it's definitely tapped into something that people have wanted and people have really been looking forward to. And I think that is an agent that runs like the way OpenClaw does and does this type of work on your behalf. That is what people want from their AI models that sit actually on their device. Like, because when you interact with ChatGPT or Gemini, you're going to the web and you're interacting with them on the web generally. Um, from a model that actually sits on your device, they can do more things on your behalf. And I think that's what people want. That's what that demand is. That's what the excitement is around, like, even what the Apple and Google partnership was just officially made official. So that will be coming to iPhones hopefully later this year. When you have an AI model that is running at that level, hopefully it is able to actually do some of the things that OpenClaw does here.
Yeah, and I think that it earlier as we were talking about some of the new capabilities in vibe coding and creating, apps and things that can be helpful to you, the one of the big new things that it's really allowing, and OpenClaw is going to allow even more of this, is for people to not just think about using AI as a way to make them more efficient and to sort of write emails quicker and sort of do the things they've always done just a little bit more efficiently and faster, but it's to rethink what you've done. And I think that that's really a key thing that people should really focus on is how can you use some of this new AI capabilities in ways that'll sort of completely change up how you're doing the work that you're doing and allow you to do new things. A simple example would be like us, we try to keep up with a lot of what's going on with AI. There's a ton of email newsletters that come out with the different stories. There's a lot of redundancy in some of those stories, and so you could have OpenClaw, or you could write a program for an app to review all those and then to summarize it and hit the high points. And so instead now of you spending, what could be an hour going through literally dozens and dozens of emails about what's going on with AI and stuff, now you can use AI to kind of like give you your quick daily summary. And then it can kind of change things up. And so, yeah, I think
Mhm.
that's sort of a mindset that I'm going to take more of going forward. And I recommend other people do too, to see what you can come up with.
Mhm. Addie, do we have your audio? Let's see. I can see your
Yeah, let's
video.
check. Testing, testing.
Perfect. All right.
Okay.
So, what are your thoughts on OpenClaw?
Yeah, basically was what I was starting to say earlier is that right now the security risks are still super high. I would not be giving it any of your personal information, name, email, credit card numbers, access to all your emails, text messages, etc. There's still lots of bad actors out there that are using this like very directly to take advantage of people who are doing that at this moment. So again,
Mhm.
would treat it cautiously, but definitely something exciting that's happening to have more of these autonomous agents that can go into different programs and uh, have different data that we interact with and be able to kind of interact with everything and take actions on its own. So yeah, kind of the last warning message there. I feel like unless you're pretty technical um, and know how to really securely wall off any sensitive information, this is not for you yet.
Yeah, this is definitely a know what you're doing tool because like it's powerful, but it's also powerful in the way that like you could really hurt yourself if you don't use it right. So I think definitely know what you're doing if you're getting involved with the open claw stuff. But I think it's definitely something that people want to see later in the AI space. It's really hard to do a lot of the stuff that this does. I think it's interesting to see this come from the open source community and for the open source community to really rally around it and start building all these things because I mean this is a tool that comes from the open source community for a reason because it's very
Mhm.
hard for anyone to release this. Like if Apple wanted to release their model that runs on their device, they got to make sure that that thing is very, very secure and not vulnerable to those prompt injections, things like that. Same for Microsoft, same for Google. They like all of those devices. If you're running one on your device, you have to make sure it's very, very secure and very safe, and that the device can handle it without it, you know, causing trouble on the device. But it's very exciting to see a step in this direction.
The last thing that I got out of that podcast with Peter Steinberger was that he is going to partner and actually go work for either OpenAI or Meta, and he hasn't
Mhm.
quite decided. They don't quite have the deal. It sounded like it was going to be Meta actually, which was I guess a little bit of a surprise. But he said Mark Zuckerberg
Mhm.
called him, and Mark said he spent like a week playing with it and stuff, and you know all this kind of crazy stuff. And so even though this Peter's just kind of worked with startups and done stuff on his own, now he's going to go work for a big company. And, it'll be kind of interesting to see how much of the terms of that deal come out and what does happen to it once it does get subsumed by either OpenAI or
Mhm.
Meta.
I mean, I think Meta has an opportunity to really be a champion of some of the open source stuff if they can build on top of this platform. It's definitely got users. It's definitely got a fan club to it. So be interesting to see where that goes.
And they need something to kind of get back in the mix of
Yeah,
the race and stuff,
they're
the AI
definitely
race.
falling out of the race. So it'll be
Yeah,
interesting
which
to
is
see. One quick thing to add here is if you have heard of Moltbook, you might hear about this thing. It is a social network that people made for AI agents. Just know it exists. If you're hearing about all these horrible headlines about AIs talking to AIs and craziness, a lot of it came from here. And that's because there's a social network for AI agents, and some of them are human prompts, some of them are AI prompted. So like if you ask your AI to post on your behalf or something like that. So just know that this is kind of where it comes from, and it's some of it's a little concerning, some of it's not as concerning, some of it's sensationalized. So you might hear about this thing, but that's what you're hearing about if you hear about AI agents talking to each other. But we're running out of time, so I'm not gonna uh, have us talk about this one too much. So
yeah, it is
just
funny though, and fun to
quick
read some of
thoughts.
those posts and stuff, even though they are mostly coming from humans prompting AI to post stuff.
Yes, exactly. All right. So so actually before we wrap, uh, what are you guys working on, and what are you excited for this month coming up?
Lee, you go.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, what am I working on this month? I'm redoing my website, which is really exciting. Kind of having like a year in a review through the consulting work, taking in different projects I've done, different client work, and working on polishing that up. Um, Hopefully, experimenting with some new AI tools along the way with that. So I'll be excited to get that going.
Nice. I'm gonna keep doing some new coding projects, and so we'll see, in a month if I feel like I've gone from sort of yeah, beginner, let's say, to expert, that kind of thing. We'll see if I can do that. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is Portland Startup Week is going to be in May,
Uh-huh.
and I just got some email about it, I think through Rick Tarosi. And the interesting thing there is I I did a talk for Portland Startup Week in it was April of 2019, 6 years ago, and it was about AI and what's
Wow.
coming. But the when was going to be the year 2100. So anyway, I just submitted a proposal to say, hey, I want to update that, because the when has moved up from 2100 to, let's say, 2030, which is nuts. So
Hmm.
Oh yeah, and John and I will be on a panel later this month, which will be fun. Uh, and then what else? And then I'm doing AI Fridays every single Friday, 9 a.m. Covering some news stories and some AI topics, business applications. So if you want to join that, you can go to a0s.io. Send you the invites there. Addie, you want to plug your website and stuff where people can learn more about you?
Yeah. Yeah. CascadiaSolutions.ai is me. I got some new stuff up there, but yeah, you'll see some more updates soon.
All right. And John, where can people go to learn more about you?
just my email's best. It's downetup.up, or connect on LinkedIn.
Best email. And all of our LinkedIn's are in the description wherever you're watching this. So connect with us and give us your thoughts and send us your comments and your questions, and we'll answer them on an upcoming episode. All right. This has been the monthly AI update, and we will see you all next month. I'm gonna play us out if I can find it. There we go. Also, I got these fireworks working now, so I can do fire. Oh wait, come on! Don't fail me now. Uh, uh. I did figure out I can trigger them though. So there we go. I could also do this one. All right. See y'all.